So speaking of empires, we have visited the Middle Ages chronologically. We've
Yeah.
visited early Christians. And I have questions about a more recent empire because I know that you are a student of Bonhoeffer,
Yes.
not yet through readings.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the power there and how especially I'm sure you've heard about this new Bonhoeffer movie that came out,
Yeah. Yeah.
um which I'm troubled by, but
And you should be
tell us.
troubled. I haven't seen it, but a close friend of mine's a Bonhoeffer scholar, and he thinks it's propaganda, this Bonhoeffer film. So
Yeah, so I've heard. So you tell us, as you understand Bonhoeffer, what can we take from him in our modern age?
um, Bonhoeffer was not Bonhoeffer to begin with. He was a bright, commonplace Lutheran pastor
Mm.
uh, who sent various places, and he studied an arcane kind of theology as a theological student. And it was really circumstances that, how shall I say, that led Bonhoeffer to discover the obvious, that he was he was an upper middle class guy and in that world and in the 20s and 30s in Germany, uh, that was very important. It gave him a certain freedom to move about because the Nazis did not want to uh, disturb the upper middle class establishment too much. So
Mm.
Bonhoeffer had some freedom to move about, and and he learned things. He saw things, and he began to realize, not automatically, but in an alternative seminary that he established as and on the basis of reports from well-placed relatives of his who were in um, high in military echelons. He began to learn that he was really dealing with something uh, much more sinister than crowd waving fans along the street.
Mm.
And it was when they began to uh, tell the churches not to preach certain things that he established an alternate seminary. And I think that's a lesson for us that we have to be very careful uh, about where we're doing our theology and how we're doing our theology. Just repeating the words is not enough. Getting the right doctrine. Um, One of the several deficiencies of the Lutheran tradition is that we in the past have been fascinated with correct teaching.
Mm.
And the fact remains that you can have correct teaching and also be subject to demonic forces at the same time. You are so we have to realize we have to have a countercultural seminary and countercultural theological establishment that gives us uh, the basis for standing over against the principalities and powers. Actually, I was instructed by a Marxist philosopher way back when, Herbert Marcuse, who wrote a book called One Dimensional Man.
Mm.
And he argued that you really have to have two dimensions. You have to have some perspective on the system. Otherwise, you become captive of the system. And so those
Mm.
are the kind of thoughts that have driven me along the way with Bonhoeffer as a teacher. And then just to conclude this thing on Bonhoeffer for a moment, he really was not a theological conspirator to begin with. He
Mm.
just took one step at a time, trying to be faithful, trying to step aside from Nazi domination of the worldview to develop a second dimension. And he almost backed into, was thrown into the set of events that led to his final execution.
Yeah, that has a lot of connections with what you were saying before in terms of uh, taking one step at a time towards the kingdom of God. It sounds like that was his path, not necessarily intending to be. Um,
He wasn't intending to be Bonhoeffer.
yeah.
And part of the popularization of Bonhoeffer that's so insidious is that the popular mind, and as I say, I haven't seen the film, but I think I can talk with some force about it because I've talked to people who have seen it, who know about Bonhoeffer and read stuff about it. The film apparently uh, sees Bonhoeffer as a kind of culture warrior, as defending the status quo. I mean, if
Mhm.
there's anything more ridiculous than to see Bonhoeffer defending the status quo, I can't imagine it. But apparently, that's what that film does.
Yeah, propaganda, as you said. Um, yes, if you have no power analysis of how Bonhoeffer was working, I can understand why you could see him as just an underdog. But um, yeah, when
That's
you
right.
take the empire
You're
out of the
right. He
story.
he had a whole uh, uh, theological grounding that when when he was led to or stumbled into his next step, he looked around and said, what am I doing here? What's happening? And how do I need to respond? His discipleship was, um, don't quote me on this, but made up as he went along. You know,
Mhm.
he was not, as I say, he was not Bonhoeffer to begin with. He became Bonhoeffer.
Mm. Thank you for that. It's such a delight to hear somebody who has done so much more research on me confirm my confirm my suspicions of the movie and yes, thank you for that.
Yeah.